So you're thinking about buying a home, and well, just straight out, searching for a home can be a daunting task, and one that can bring on a lot of stress. Over the years, my team and I have definitely seen some initially gung-ho and super excited buyers just kind of break down a bit through the process. Searching for a home can, at times, feel a little bit like being on a hamster wheel of looking at homes, dealing with multiple offer situations, and just kind of like an emotional roller coaster. So to help simplify the process for you, today I am going to tell you about some of the homes that you should never buy here in the Boise, Idaho area. And no, this video is not only intended for first-time home buyers, or for that matter, for those with higher budgets and price points. Everyone at every price point deserves to get the very best that they can for their dollar. So let's go through all of the homes you should never buy right now. And as we go through this, if you have anything to add, or if you have any experiences with any of these, or if you just flat out disagree with me, post a comment down below. I want to hear it all. Hey there, I'm Marcy Ellison, your local resource for all things real estate here in Boise's beautiful Treasure Valley. My team and I post videos every single week detailing what living in Idaho is all about. So if you haven't done so already, please consider tapping that subscribe button and hitting that little notification bell so that you can see new videos when they're released. And yeah, seeing that little subscriber number tick up certainly does help to inspire us to just keep on filming videos. Okay, so first on my list, let's talk about homes that back up to or are incredibly close to a major highway or road. And the reason that these homes are a no-go is quite simple and twofold, but oddly enough, not always taken into full account by all buyers during their home search. And those two reasons are road noise and resale. Choosing to buy a home right on a road would mean that not only would you be opting into a less than peaceful everyday living experience, but you'd also be buying a home that's ultimately not going to maximize the equity you could build in your home over the long run. And while you might not currently be too concerned about selling that home in years to come right at this very moment, which fair enough, as I get that thought sort of dampens today's excitement about buying a home, right? But well, chances are someday down the road, you'll be selling it. And let me tell you, no one is ever disappointed to see and then receive significant equity from their initial investment.
Well, the money bit's true, I guess.
So often, if a home hits the market at a low price and it just looks too good to be true, well, very often that lower price tag can be chalked up to the home's location. And yep, proximity to a busy hopping road, well, that definitely diminishes value, thus the lower price tag. Top of mind for me right now, there is a home that's been on the market in a gorgeous community, super desirable community out in Eagle, and it's been on the market for several months now. Since going live, we have had we've had seven families call us up to ask us about this home in particular. And just straight out, the reason that home is still on the market is that from its front driveway, you can literally see Eagle Road, which just happens to be the busiest, most congested road in the entire state of Idaho. So yeah, while the home itself is lovely and the community is just so highly desirable and just amazing, kind of makes me feel sorry for the poor house, but well, it's just too darn close to the road. Two of the couples who called us about it decided that they still wanted to go see it, even after we pointed out its location on a map and the proximity to the road. And well, both of them, when we pulled up to the driveway, changed their minds about even going in.
So, that's a no.
So now, if you are moving here from, say, a large metro area in, I don't know, California or Texas, you might be side-eyeing me a bit right now, thinking, well, compared to what I'm coming from, it really can't be that bad, Marcy, or maybe that's road noise to you, something along those lines. But you know, what I can tell you, homes that are right on a major road are going to take longer to sell, and they are going to sell for less money than other homes in the neighborhood. And really, well, this all kind of goes back to the very first rule of real estate, which is what? Location, location, location. And backing a major road simply does not make for an ideal location. So just know that if you find yourself considering a home that has a lot of road noise, I'm going to put my pom-pom away and will be strongly encouraging you to consider moving on with the home search. Because with patience and time, we can and will find you something better, and something that not only will you be happy living in, but something that will see a maximized return down the road when you are ready to move on.
So, win-win.
Next, do not buy a home that is on a severely steep hill or crazy unlevel land. You may or may not recall that back in 2016, some incredibly unfortunate Boise homeowners out over by Table Rock, which is the well-known hike that goes all the way up to the huge white cross that overlooks the city. If you visited the area or already live here, you're definitely familiar with it. But anyhow, these homeowners were living over in the Terra Nativa subdivision, and well, they started to notice some small cracks forming in their homes. And those initially small cracks continued to progress and grow. Ultimately, the sidewalks started buckling, windows began breaking, and homes quite literally slipped off of their foundations.
It was nearly 8 years ago when residents in the Terra Nativa subdivision in the Boise foothills were forced to move out and abandon their homes after they learned the land beneath them was shifting. Hector Mendoza revisits the slow-moving but devastating landslide that caused severe damage to several homes in 2016.
We were all in heaven up there. We had this beautiful view and the houses that we wanted.
But that view was short-lived.
We didn't get to live there for 2 years.
A landslide crumbled 2 homes and significantly damaged 4 other homes built in the Terra Nativa subdivision in the Boise foothills in the spring of 2016.
Our second house on the right. They were right on what's called the margin of the slide, or the border of the slide, and that slide literally ripped their house in half.
Ultimately, it turned out that the homes had been built on a slow-moving landslide. Most of these homes were torn down entirely and their lots remained vacant. However, just this spring, word came out that a proposal for a 3,800 square foot home had been proposed for a lot that was just 100 yards away from one of the destroyed homes. And to that, I just shake my head. No, don't do it.
Are you crazy?
Now, of course, not every home that's built up on a hillside is going to slide out off the hill. But well, just trust me that there will be a lot to consider, and having our own independent inspector will be, just like all of our deals, essential. And on this note, if you are a current or past client of ours, you already know this. We don't care what the market conditions are like. Never, ever buy a home without an inspection. Even back during the crazy COVID market where bidding wars were commonplace and buyers were, I don't know, willing to name their first child after the seller just to get a counteroffer. Not really, that's a bit extreme, but anyhow, pretty close at times. Even during that market, we were resolute about having our buyers have their own home inspection with a licensed professional and of course, highly experienced inspector. Failing to have your own inspector will never, ever be in your best interest as a home buyer. Next up, let's talk about homes that are being flipped. Now, if you are a flipper yourself, calm down, calm down. That said, actually, heck, well, if you are a flipper, then you will understand this even more because you certainly understand your bottom line and that the ultimate goal is to, of course, maximize profit, which usually entails aiming to complete renovations as quickly and let's just face it, as cheaply as possible, which can, of course, lead to subpar repairs and updates, which can also undeniably result in future problems. Another issue we have seen with flipped homes is that more often than not, the areas that were renovated and worked on are the more cosmetic aspects of the house. As my mother would say, it's just like lipstick on a pig and all that. So while the cabinets, counters, and paint might be all shiny and new, well, the roof and HVAC unit, i.e. the more significant and of course costly items that require a heck of a lot more to fix than just some lipstick, well, they might be on their last legs, and yeah, that's gonna cost you. We actually were at a home the other day shooting a video tour for a client of ours who is moving here from out of state. And after looking at the listing photos and talking with the listing agent before we arrived, we were so hopeful that this would be the one for our wonderful client. But then that excitement turned to disappointment real fast once we saw how things had been done. Paint issues, grout issues, cheap cabinets with extra spacers that didn't even open or close properly. Just so much had been done, but it had all been done so quickly and just, well, sloppily that really things had just been done almost to just make the listing photos look good, just saying. Which the listing photos did look good, and that's why we were there. But in person, the house itself, no, just too sloppy. And that lackadaisical work will be, honestly, why it will continue to sit on the market until the price comes down, and I mean way down. Another thing to keep in mind is that oftentimes the majority of the work that flippers do is on the inside of the house, meaning they don't legally need to get permits to do the work. And yep, that of course means that they can either go the DIY route or hire unlicensed contractors because, well, unlicensed help is undeniably always cheaper than licensed, right?
That is true.
And now, if a home that is being flipped has had any walls removed, it is really important to ask if a licensed contractor or a structural engineer was involved before the wall came down, so that you can ensure that the wall that was removed was not a load-bearing wall. Now, of course, just like there are obnoxious, commission breath, car salesmanly-like real estate agents out there, as well as the great ones, well, there are, of course, flippers out there who do incredible, high-quality work. But let me tell you, when you see several flipped homes back-to-back, chances are you will see at least one of them that has not been done very well. Which can, of course, make it all the easier to spot the good ones. But for the poorly flipped homes where things just look a little slapdash and done haphazardly, chances are there will be more significant issues under that sloppiness that you will need to deal with down the road. And honestly, you don't need that stress or headache, so don't buy it and move on. Next up, don't buy someone's seasonal home. And why is that? Because, well, if homes are only seasonally occupied, that very often means that the home has very likely been poorly maintained 8-9 months out of the year, with things rarely getting noticed, say such as a roof leak or leaking plumbing for months on end. And then if and when repairs are done in these cases, very often they are done with cheap materials with labor provided by a handyman. And fair enough, people were there to vacation, not work on their house. But unfortunately, that consistent lack of TLC can cost you down the road. Now, of course, every situation is different, but in general, seasonal homes often come with more baggage than most initially expect and or want to deal with. Next up, let's talk about homes with multiple big issues. So I'm talking about the big ticket issues, things like needing a new roof, or maybe needing to replace the HVAC units, or if there are sewer or plumbing issues. Just looking at it from a cost perspective, depending on the size of the home, a new roof could cost you anywhere from $12,000 all the way up to over $50,000. And then for new AC units, those can range anywhere from around $7,000, $8,000 all the way up to $19,000 per AC unit. And if your home here in Idaho is over 3,000 square feet, chances are you will have 2 units. And then, of course, you will just need more units if your home is closer to the 4,000 to 5,000 square foot mark. Now, let's talk about homes with mold or mildew issues. And due to our drier and semi-arid climate here, this one sometimes surprises people who are moving here from other states to hear about. Oftentimes, people just don't think that we will have many problems with mold here in Idaho, but well, we have it and we've seen it. We've seen it on shower ceilings, under sinks and cabinets, and in attics and crawl spaces, and various other places. And well, this type of mold needs to be addressed, i.e. professionally remediated correctly, because this kind of mold grows very quickly and can cause some bad things to happen. So if you're looking at a house that had a mold problem that was remediated, be sure you receive all of the paperwork. And that's both for your peace of mind, but will also come in handy when you go to sell your home down the road, as the next buyer will need to have that paperwork as well. Okay, so now this is Idaho, and in Idaho, agriculture is of course huge. Let's talk about dairy farms and water treatment plants because, well, smells, right? Personally, I don't want to live in a place with an insanely potent and sometimes downright permeating stench to it. So when we see dairy farms close to homes that our clients are eyeballing, we are the first to point them out. And well, due to wind conditions and the time of year, there is a chance that you could go view a home and not pick up on any kind of smell that day. And then the next day come back and the wind could have either switched directions or picked up, and wowzer, no thanks. When those smells hit you, well, you know, not for me. Thanks. And along with these two, let's also add the sugar beet factory that we have right out in Nampa, right off of I-84. That's a hard pass as well. Last, but certainly not least, let's talk about structural issues. So we're talking about incorrectly cut trusses, or a crack in the foundation, or cracks in walls, beams, or in the ceiling. And especially if it is a jagged crack. And what I mean by that is there is a big difference between a worrisome crack and hairline fractures. Hairline fractures, you are going to find them in many homes due simply to time and general settling. And those are almost always very small concerns. But let's talk about significant cracks, and especially those that are erratically going in all kinds of different directions so they aren't in a straight line. Well, those can be, and very often are, clear indicators of a possible structural issue. And well, I personally would never buy a home with a structural issue because they can be very difficult and of course costly to repair. If there are structural issues, well, so often one issue leads to another, and you could find yourself in a rabbit hole of escalating repair costs, which you don't want for you, and I certainly don't want for you either. So what do you think? Are there any other types of homes that you would personally run away from? Or do you have a crazy story to share, and one that could potentially save another viewer down the road? Post a comment below because I want to know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.